Good morning. This class this morning is dedicated to slowing down. Our body has this innate ability and capacity to remind you when it's time to slow down. And for me, I've noticed often I need to get sick to remind me that it's time to rest. And that rest for me when I'm sick is the time, one of the only times when I don't actually feel guilty about taking a whole day to stay in bed, to do nothing, just to really tend to myself and how I'm feeling. And I'm sure you've experienced similar or the same, or you have your own techniques or ways or messages that your body gives you to remind you that it's just time to knock it back a notch. So this morning's practice is all about listening to and honoring your body as it recoups, as you've had time to rest over the weekend, but your energy levels are still low, but you're ready to move. It's time to get out of bed and it's time to move a little. So I have aptly called this class the Rotisserie series because we're staying on the ground today, but we'll move on all planes of our body as we gently roll ourselves around like a rotisserie. So what you will need for this practice is a rolled up yoga mat, obviously something comfortable to rest on. And we're going to use the mat to inform our breath today. So when you come to lie down, place the mat on the rib area, because we're using the mat to inform our breath in the rib area here. So grab any props. I'm going to meet you down on the ground. And then just take a moment to position your ribs over the rolled up mat. If you need a prop to support your head, you can use a rolled up blanket or whatever you have. You can even use your arm as a prop. And then just take your upper hand to the other side of your ribs. And I want you just to add a little bit of pressure so you have some information now about the ribs. We'll just take a few moments to notice how your ribs feel pressing against the mat. If you need to make any adjustments to accommodate yourself, do that. And for the next few moments, just notice how your natural breath moves in and out. Using your prop to support and give you feedback about each inhale and each exhale. And then keeping that little bit of pressure on your top ribs. As you inhale, have a feeling or notice how your ribs expand. See if you can just isolate the rib area itself. So as you breathe in, see if you can notice the ribs expanding away from one another. Feel how that feels in your top hand as well as the below ribs. And then as you exhale, squeeze all the air out of the ribs and have a feeling of noticing the ribs knitting or drawing back towards one another as the breath leaves the body. Breathe in. Feel the ribs expand away from one another. As you breathe out, squeeze all the air out of you by pressing and informing the ribs towards one another. Let's move through 3 more. As you breathe in, create an expansion through the ribs. And as you breathe out, gently press the upper ribs so you have a feeling of the ribs in the hands as well as the prop below you. Move through the next 2 breaths in your own time. At the end of your second breath, release your hand down in front of the line of your shoulder. You may need to change the leg positioning here. We're just going to add a gentle roll to the back of the ribs and slowly to the front of the ribs, just where it's comfortable for you. Roll to the back of the ribs. You can support your head if you need to. Roll to the front of the ribs. I don't think there's really any pretty or proper way to do this. Whatever way that works for you, just to feel yourself gently massaging the back and the front of the ribs. Maybe move through 1 more together. As much as you can, keeping your awareness focused on your breath and the spaces that it fills, the spaces that the breath moves out of. And then when you next come to the front of your ribs, place your top leg over to the side, straighten or extend your back leg, and then roll over slightly onto the lower and front part of the rib. And just rest your head where it's comfortable. And again, notice how the prop supports your breath, or notice how it adds input to the way that you're breathing. And if at any stage this feels like too much pressure for you on the ribs, you can remove the prop. Take 1 or 2 more breaths here before we start to move towards our belly as the rotisserie keeps turning slowly. Slowly reposition your legs. Reposition your body so that the mat now sits somewhere between the very lower ribs and that space in between the ribs. Drape your body over the top. And bring your focus back to your breath now. I really love the use of a prop, and I'm learning more about using props to inform my breath because it gives you such obvious feedback. And that's what I'm noticing as I breathe with props now. The information I'm getting is way stronger than if I were just to breathe or to have a breath practice without that information. So see how this feels for you. It does take some getting used to, I've found personally. In all instances, you really want to listen to your body and be guided by your body. So if something does not feel right, who am I to be guiding you to a place that doesn't feel right? So just learn to become a little bit more aware of the sensations you notice and how you can best accommodate them. So if you're still with me at this stage, regardless of whether you've got the prop or not, now come to a supported forearm rest. Bring the inner parts of your feet together and just ensure that your elbows are stacked below your shoulders. And then again, just take a few moments with your head relaxed to observe your breath as it moves in and out. In this back bend here, we encourage the chest to be open. So as much as you can into the openness of that chest, fill that cavity as comfortably as you can with a nice, rich, deep, full inhale. See if you can burst your chest forward, and then as you breathe out, gently relax. Breathe into that openness of your chest cavity, filling it as comfortably and fully as you can. And then as you breathe out, gently lower the head or forehead back towards your hands. And then again, just taking a moment to watch the rise and fall of the breath. And to notice what new sensations you're aware of as you breathe into and away from the prop that we're using today. So just take a few breaths here. And as our rotisserie keeps turning, we're coming to the other side of our ribs now. So gently position your body so that you're now lying on your opposite rib. Make any adjustments you need to the shape of your body for your comfort. Prop or support your head. And then when you find yourself in a comfortable position, bring your top hand to your ribs and add some slight pressure down. You know it, take a big breath, fill that space in between your ribs. Feel the ribs expand and spread apart. And then as you breathe out, squeeze the ribs gently together to inform that breath. Feel the way your lower ribs press into the prop. Feel the pressure between the top hand and the top ribs, and empty all that breath. Breathe in, expand through the ribs. Breathe out. Empty all the breath by squeezing the ribs towards one another. Breathe in. Create space and openness in the ribs. And then as you breathe out, squeeze every last drop of breath that you comfortably can out. And although you might not be familiar with anatomy, this is really an opportunity to just notice other areas of your body that play a part in this conscious or more aware or awakened breath. So through the expansion and release process, notice if the muscles in your lower belly join in. Notice if you feel one side of your body pressing into the mat. And all awareness and sensation are going to be individualized and personal. So just become a little bit more aware of the way your body reacts and responds. Take 2 more breaths here. And then again, bring the fingertips of your top hand just in front of the line of your shoulder. We're gently going to start to massage the ribs. So rolling to the front of the ribs to a point where you're informed. And then roll to the back of the ribs. All the while maintaining a focus on your breath. Move through a few more. And then at the end of your next round, meet back in the middle. So we're resting in the center of the ribs. Comfortably support yourself so you can now remove the roll. And completing our rotisserie, come to your back. Maybe place your rolled up mat below your knees. You want to create an openness into the chest that we've just been working. Then tuck your shoulder blades in underneath your back. Place one hand on your belly, one hand on your ribs. And then lastly, we're going to move into a diaphragmatic or belly breath. So as you breathe in, feel the belly rise and let the air move up into the ribs. As you breathe out, release the air, whether that's from your ribs or your belly first, but have a feeling of both those compartments emptying of air. Breathe in, have a feeling of the belly expand. Let that breath continue and move up into the ribs as you feel maybe a little bit more openness in the ribs now as they draw apart. And then as you exhale, let the air release whatever way feels natural and comfortable for you, ensuring that you still feel a connection to the ribs, somehow move in or have a feeling of moving in towards one another. Each time you breathe in, have a feeling of the belly expanding and filling with air until it's risen comfortably enough, and then moving out and separating the ribs. And then as you breathe out, empty the cycle of breath. My invitation to you is to continue with this cycle of breath for as long as you have available to you, or for as long as feels good and supports you. Thank you for moving through practice with me this morning or this evening, whatever time it is for you. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I look forward to moving with you again. Thank you. My name's Anita. I'm from Yoga on the Road. Namaste.